Hello and good morning, or good day, wherever you are. Welcome to our webinar, Effectively Automate Document Conversion with New PDF Compressor Features. We want to wait for another minute or two to give the other attendees a chance to join us. Not yet all registered attendees are there. So I ask you for your patience for another minute or two to wait until we start. Thanks a lot. Once more, welcome to our webinar, Effectively Automate Document Conversion with New PDF Compressor Features. While we still wait for some attendees to show up, I think it's about time now to start. We can start with personal introductions of today's speakers. Maybe we start with Armin Ortmann.
Hello, good morning to you from Berlin. I am LuraTech's Chief Technical Officer, and I will take part in today's presentation.
Yes, Armin will give us live demonstrations of the new features of the PDF Compressor 5.1 and of the PDF Compressor itself. And my name is Carsten Heiermann. I'm the Managing Director of LuraTech, and I'll do the PowerPoint part of our today's webinar and presentation. I have some technical hints for you. During the webinar, you have a chance to ask questions to us. You might see on your right side of the screen a small text chat box. This is your chance to enter questions, and we want to answer some of the questions at least online during the webinar by text chat. Please understand that we might not be able to answer all the questions there, but we will definitely capture all those questions you enter there, and we will answer them at least in a follow-up email after the webinar. One more technical hint: in the end of the presentation, you will be automatically guided to a survey, a small survey with just around 5 questions or so, and we would be very glad if you would fill in that to give us a bit of feedback on the quality of our webinar, and also you have a chance there to ask for additional topics that we should cover by webinars and other presentation methods, and you'll see that survey automatically in the end of the presentation. Yes, so let's start with our webinar. agenda that we have planned for today's meeting starts with small introductions on the basics around compression technology and stuff like that. We have attendees here who are power users, but we have also attendees here who are very brand new to our technology and our solutions. So for those power users, please have a moment of patience. We will follow up to the advanced features after a short introduction. Then we will talk about the basics of the LuraDocument PDF compressor. You see all these topics there. And then go over to the new and advanced features, including the form recognition, data extraction and validation, and the digital signatures, and so on. We have 2 live presentations scheduled in between after I introduce the features by PowerPoint, see them online presented by Armin Ortmann. First introduction page about LuraTech. What we all do is LuraTech delivers software, especially solutions to convert and optimize scanned documents and digital image content. We are known for our JPEG 2000 and PDF and PDFA solutions based on SDK and component software. But in the meantime, you will see that products like the PDF compressor are more end-to-end solutions to help you automate your document and image conversion needs. We are proud of our support. So in pre-sales and post-sales phase, you will be helped along with a very reactive, fast turnaround technical support and also support on the compression and whatnot. That should be enough to introduce LuraTech. I want to introduce the topic that we're talking about today. So basically, we're talking about creation of PDF and PDFA files from scanned documents. And you all might know what the current options that you have are. When you take a look at the scanned, for example, invoice, like on the left page of this presentation slide, you normally scan it in and you get either a black and white file in TIFF Group 4, or you get a color file in TIFF, JPEG compressed TIFF, JPEG, or PDF. That's the current options. The current options have several disadvantages, obviously. Using TIFF in the normal uncompressed way would, of course, deliver the best quality like you see on the lower left side there, but it delivers such a huge amount of data that nobody really can do that. Nobody does that, in fact, because it's uncompressed and just too big to handle, too big to store, too expensive. Going for JPEG or PDF, which is quite the same thing, PDF just contains, when it comes to scanned documents, a compressed JPEG image per page. You see that the sizes of the file there in the middle, lower middle of the presentation slide, the sizes of the file there gets more acceptable. But as it is acceptable, it also introduces a lot of what we call artifacts like noise and distortion, especially at the important parts of the document, which is the characters and lines and all the drawings that are your net data on a scanned document. OCR, character recognition software, will have a hard time detecting those characters correctly. The OCR overall results, a percentage of correctly identified character will decrease. And that's why most of the people at the moment still use Fax Group 4 compression, which is the example on the lower right side here. Fax Group 4 compression delivers quite a good representation of the text part of a scanned document, but it is just black and white. Thus, of course, it doesn't deliver any good quality for any kind of color parts or any kind of image parts or whatever are on a scanned document. Plus, it loses all the color information, and color might really be important. Just think about a cabling plan where different cable colors really have a meaning. Yeah, that's the situation that we have today when it comes to scanned documents. And during the introduction of the basic functionality of PDF Compressor, I like to show you one solution that is called MRC compression now, which does it a lot better than what we actually do. This slide here shows the way of compressing images a lot better in terms of file size and in terms of quality. On the left side there of the document, you see an example of a scanned document that the normal compression schemas, I'd call them, like JPEG and TIFF Group 4, will have a lot of problems with, TIFF group 4 will lose all the quality of the image in the middle. You almost cannot see what is on the image there when you compress that with TIFF group 4 compression in just black and white. JPEG compression will have quite success on the image, but the text part of the document will get noisy, distort, and just blurry, and you can't really read it anymore. Our idea of mixed raster content compression, and that's basically the idea of the PDF compressor compression that it contains, is that we should use those existing compression schemas, but just feed them with what they are good at. For this, we do a layering process that is called segmentation, and in the middle of this presentation screen you see 3 layers of the original image on the left side there, where in the middle layer, which is called the mask, you just see the text and the graphic shapes, which are stored there in black and white. This content is natural content where TIFF group 4 compression or advanced compression schemas like JPEG-2 are really, really good in. And they are not disturbed, or they are not influenced by parts which they are not that good in, because these parts go in different layers. For example, the image goes in a background layer. You see that as the lowest layer there, where the image content is in, and also something like an old scanned document that gets yellowish. This information is more continuous, more natural colored, and this goes in the background. And the only information missing then is the information on what color the text has had before. And you see that in the foreground image here, which represents in a certain way the color that the text has had before. We take measures on that foreground layer so that it's also kind of a static information, and the result of that is you receive, you get tremendous compression rate with very good quality by using JPEG or JPEG 2000 compression in the foreground and the background image, and you get a good result with TIFF group 4 and JPEG-2, as I mentioned, with the black and white layers. Once these 3 independent compressed layers are compressed, we frame them together and store them in a PDF compliant or PDFA compliant file that is 100% compatible to PDF or PDFA specifications. In other words, you can view those super compressed images with every available Acrobat reader or any other available PDF reader out there in the market without any extensions or plugins or something like that. The result of that compression is here on the next slide. And you see the left 3 examples again are the known examples we've had before, and you see one more on the right side of the presentation, which is called the MRC compressed PDF or PDFA. The result of that is, from the image point of view, you see it has a very high quality. It has a very sharp representation of the text parts, which is very good for and afterwards OCR or character recognition process, and it has the full color information. Now take a look at the file size. The file size here in this example, let's say, is, as a rule of thumb you can remember, it is the same file size as the fax group 4 black and white representation of the same document would have been in the good old times. So the rule of thumb is really the full color information, MRC compressed PDF or PDFAs are the same file size as the fax group 4 document of the same, fax group 4 compression of the same document would be. And another rule of thumb you might want to remember is, even if you're working in full black and white, the MRC compressed PDF or PDFA gets around half the file size of a fax group 4 document of the same scanned image. Yeah, another basic that the PDF compressor that you might need to know about the PDF compressor is one of the output file formats that the PDF compressor can generate. It generates obviously PDF files, but it generates also PDFA files, and PDFA files get more and more important as output format for our PDF compressor. That's why I want to mention it here. So what is this PDFA? The A stands for archiving, or in other words, even long-term archiving. It is an ISO standard that describes how to use PDF in a secure way for long-term archiving. The goal of PDFA is that visual representation, how it looks of the document, should be maintained over the years, even if systems change, even if computers change, even if operating systems change. Think about a document that you archive today, and you have to get it back from your archive in 30 years, or 40 years, or 100 years, and it still has to look the same. You cannot predict what the technology of the system you are showing it on looks like in those future times. So PDF-ATEX measures today by allowing certain features of PDF, by not allowing other features of PDF, by introducing additional documentation and other features to PDF, that it says the PDFs constructed under the schema of PDF-A are really able to be rendered on a computer in any time in the future because they contain all the information that is needed. They are self-continued, they are documented very well, they are transparent in terms of access to the data. And PDF-A is, of course, a very difficult topic. It's a long topic. I just want to introduce that our PDF compressor can, with just one mouse click, create PDF-As, and we see that later on in the live presentation. PDF-A is a long topic. If you like to have webinars from our site about PDF-A itself, you might want to enter that to the survey in the end of the presentation as a request towards us. For now, this should be all about PDF-A. Just remember, it's an ISO-compliant PDF derivative that is suited especially for long-term archiving. And the PDF compressor can easily create those PDFs. Yeah. Now, one basic more about the PDF compressor to know is how it works, where it works, where should it be placed in the workflow. And you see a schematic scan and capture workflow on the screen here, a very easy thing. You have batches of paper on the left side. You scan them in, obviously, and the scanner here is not named. So the PDF compressor doesn't care about whether you use a Kodak or a Fujitsu or any other brand or manufacturer's scanner and scan software. The scan software of that scanner then outputs TIFFs and JPEGs and PDFs and a lot of other formats that our PDF compressor then can read, and it can convert those, optimize those, it can merge and split and rename and a lot more things that we see in the presentation later on with those input files, and then in kind of a post-processing step, convert those input files coming from your existing scan software, from the existing scanners, to PDFs or PDF-A that are then suitable for storage, enterprise content management systems, document management systems, but that can also go into your workflows towards your task-based worker and so on. So remember, PDF compressor is something like the output from the input process. In other words, it's a post-processing step after your existing scan installations. It doesn't need to exchange any kind of hardware or software that you already use in your company. Yeah, we're talking about automation of document conversions today, and with the PDF compressor you have a lot of different options on how to automate your document conversion processes. First of all, the PDF compressor has a mode where you can manually start any conversion step. A conversion step can be a single file conversion. A conversion step can be a whole batch that you can convert. It can be a whole tree with folders and subfolders containing images all over the place that can be converted in one batch run that you can start manually every batch run. But it also has this automatic conversion. It provides you hot folders, that is watched folders where you just use your existing scan facilities and scan all images to one or more, or a lot, even hot folders that are watched there. Any hot folder can have different setups. You can have one hot folder, for example, to create PDF, one hot folder to create PDF-A with OCR in there, and so on and so on and so on. It is automated. You do not have to go to the machine anymore and start something onto the machine where the PDF compressor is running on and start something there. It just picks up any file you scan in there. It's fully automated, but it's still kind of asynchronous because you just drop the files there and then sometimes they are ready, which is automation enough for most of the processes, but for more advanced processes, the PDF compressor has also a full process and workflow integration option. I'd call it something like a remote control for the PDF compressor. The remote control is your existing or new capture and conversion workflow. So you might have a step like a scan software before. This scan software before then generates batches, and it generates a job list that says, please PDF compressor, do this and that conversion steps with this and that batches containing this and that files. And the PDF compressor then has a start and ready mechanism in there, and it gives you an asynchronous control back to your workflow process with progress feedback and everything else, so that also the step before the PDF compressor has full control, but also, which is even important, the same importance, the next following step in the workflow, for example, the import to an archive, has full control about when a single batch of files, a single file, or a whole processing step is ready and can, for example, be imported into an ECM system. Now, summary, the PDF compressor in the current version has several standard features on board. It is, of course, the extreme MRC compression that I introduced to you and that we see now in the live presentation. It is the batch processing in all the modes that I introduced, including the full automation modes and the full integration mode. Every standard delivery that we have already integrates a full OCR license from the company, OCR company Abby in there, and it has the barcode recognition on board. The other features that we see in the second part of the presentation, like forms recognition, data extraction, data validation, and the digital signal module, these are optional features that you can license in addition to an existing standard delivery of PDF compressor. Obviously, the PDF compressor, as the LuraTech company philosophy is compliant to a lot ISO standards, most important PDF, PDF-A, and JBIG2 for the black and white, advanced black and white compression. It is compatible to all existing ECM systems and all existing scan software. I already introduced how easy it can be integrated into existing workflow. And I would now like to ask Armin Ortmann to show you the basics on the PDF compressor in a live presentation.
Yes, sure. So I will put away with the presentation for a second. So this is an example I have prepared for today's session. Let's imagine that this is a batch of scanned documents, for example, things that have been received by standard mail, or for example, for instance, attachments that somebody has sent you in a mail because he has scanned them himself and sent them to you in an electronic form. So these are just a standard variety of things that might arrive at your scan station in this fashion. These are German bills. Now, how can we, or let's have a look at their sizes first. These are uncompressed TIFFs. They might be compressed, for example, by LZV or a JPEG within TIFF for a certain measure, but these are uncompressed, so they are fairly huge, and even if, for example, they are LZW compressed, they would probably still be several megabytes in size. So let's now employ the PDF compressor, and this is about as simple as it gets. You simply take one of these files, drag it here. I will remove this old entry here so that you can see this more properly. And we can inspect the properties here. We have simply dragged the file in here. We see this is the path of the file reflected here. The standard mode of compression in this case is MRC. This is the multi-layered compression format that Carsten has just explained. The output is simply a PDF file placed next to the input file. You see you have more options here, but I will not go into that right now. And this is about all we need at this point. We can simply hit the Start button. We see this icon changes. It says it's working. We're also seeing since it is only one file, it is working on one of the two cores of my compressor. And here we already have the example. You see, compared to the absolutely uncompressed images, it is dramatically compressed. It has been compressed several hundred times, and we will have a look at it just to ensure that this compression still yields some reasonable output. And you see it is still quite legible. Some of the background noise as compared to the original image has even been reduced. You see these transparent shades of the scan process. Some of them have disappeared in the result, but this is, I would say, rather accidental. On the other hand, you see a slight decrease in quality here in these colored areas. Still, this is about what the standard sets of options would give you with the PDF compressor. But of course, you will say this is not the reality in our workplace. We don't want to, or we rarely want to, compress single files and move them there by hand. We usually have complete folders containing hundreds or even thousands of files, and we want to integrate this in a more automatic fashion. So let's see how we can compress complete folder. By the name of this folder, you can already guess that I'm going to demonstrate this hot folder property, the watched folder property of the PDF compressor. Again, I can simply create an entry by dragging a file here. I could also say add a new entry, but I've dragged it here, and I will inspect its properties. Once again, you see this is automatically changed to directory, as this entry already represents a directory. You could also browse for a folder here, or you could enter it manually here. So for this folder, I will enable the checking, which makes it a hot folder. It will be checked every 10 seconds, and whenever contents are detected, the folder will, or the PDF compressor will start processing the contents. I will also enable merging, which means all input that is detected at one point of time will be merged into one PDF output document. Since I am enabling a hot folder, it's feasible to ensure that I move output files out of the way, meaning I will move them to an adjacent folder or a subfolder named output, this one over here. And as additional options, I will move input files out of the way to ensure that the PDF compressor will not attempt to process them twice, which of course is not what you would want. But you see, you have all these options over here. And as another option, if for whatever reason compression fails for one of these files, I can also move such files into still a different folder. I will use this error folder down here. So this lets you resume the work on files which have not properly been processed. So they don't simply disappear, or you don't have to look for error messages right away, and you're not bothered by pop-up dialogues in this case, but the problematic files will end up in this folder, and you can later on inspect them, see whether they are correct, or whether you can resubmit them to the process. And on top of all of this, I will also apply OCR. This is character recognition. I have also a range of options here, so I can, for example, enable German as a checking language. I could also extract OCR results in additional formats, say plain text or comma-separated values. I won't do that for now, but I will now start this folder, which will not do much more than saying it's monitoring here, because right now this folder only contains the empty subfolders. There's nothing in it. So let's, for example, pick a few files from my scanned batch and copy them here. You see, with a slight delay, this hot folder job has started working. So let's see what it does here. It's still not using more than one processor core of my machine because I have enabled this merge option, which means it eventually creates one PDF file. But we will see an example where this multi-core option becomes active soon. So it's still working on this first one, the colored one, which of course is complicated. And it's now processed. You see the process is mirrored here. And it has now processed to second scan. And the third one.
While it compressed, may I ask a question, Armin?
Yes, sure.
My question is, do I always need to use that graphical user interface here while I'm doing any kind of conversions using the hot folder and so on?
No, this is of course because we're doing a webinar and we want people to see something. You can close this, and for example, if I close it and open it again, I'm seeing the same setup again. And this is actually just the control surface, so it is intended to run completely unattended on some system where you hardly ever have to look for it, because you can simply see in these result folders, for example, what has been processed. And you can simply drop off, for example, your input files there and then take the output files and feed them into the next step of your workflow.
So the idea could be to set up a central conversion server somewhere in the company, and that serves all the scanners in there with just one installation for conversion and OCR and PDF generation, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Okay.
That is one of the main purposes of this tool. But let's get back to this hot folder. You see, all the 4 files have been processed, so they have been moved to this done folder. The job here is set back to monitoring because it doesn't have anything to do right now. And here in this output folder, I have a 4-page PDF containing all the pages that I have just submitted to compression. And when I click in here, you can also see, I'll switch it to 100%. You can also see that, for example, if I look for a term like STR, the German abbreviation for street, then it finds this in the OCR result. By submitting the files to OCR, to character recognition, I have created fully text searchable PDFs. You can even go in here and copy and paste the text. That is, I think, another great advantage of this process using the PDF compressor. And finally, we have talked a bit about PDF-A. There isn't that much to demonstrate here concerning PDF-A. It's merely a property of the internal format of the PDFs generated. But seeing how easy it is to compress files, it's also pretty easy to create PDF-A. You simply switch the compatibility, which is here for certain versions of the Adobe Reader, meaning certain versions of the PDF format. You can also just switch it to PDF-A, and this will cause the PDF compressor to create PDF-A files without any further interaction or any further needs for attention. So, okay, so far for the first part of the presentation. Carsten, do you want to take over again?
Yes, thanks a lot, Armin, for that first presentation part. We go back to the slides now, and I want to introduce you on a PowerPoint slide base to 2 of the more advanced features that we have in the PDF compressor now. First is the barcode reading, and I want to give you a short introduction on what the barcode reading is used for and what you can make use of when you use it by PDF compressor. Again, you see the slide, which is looking almost the same as the slide of the PDF compressor I introduced before, but you might see a difference on the left side where the batches of paper that you scan in are marked with a specific barcode on top of it. This barcode might be a barcode stick to the first page of a of a register inside a file, or it might be a separate barcode page that you can, when you fetch the paper out of the folder, you might be able to put a barcode separator between specific registers from your files. That can be a barcode page or a stick barcode on the first page. And you see there's 3 different barcodes. You still scan all in as usual, as you are used to. You get a long list of, for example, single-page TIFF files or JPEGs that you enter to the PDF compressor then, and then you switch the PDF compressor, and we see that in a live demo too in a minute. You switch the PDF compressor then to a mode that it makes use of the barcodes that you see there. And as an output from the PDF compressor, you see PDF or PDFA files. Now the PDF compressor used the barcode to merge together all single pages that follow a specific barcodes, and it can make use of the barcode value that it detects. For example, to name the file, you see we have 3 PDFA files there named ABC, DEF, and GHI. That is the same name as the barcode value on the left-hand side shows. The barcode value can also be used in any other place inside the PDF compressor conversion steps. So it could be used, for example, to add the barcode value to the metadata of a PDF file and a lot else. But we see that in a minute. This should be enough for my introduction. And I want to give you the same kind of introduction for the more advanced feature of the PDF compressor called forms recognition and data extraction. So what is it all about? You might have forms in your company, forms filled in by as an application to a specific insurance contract, or as an application for a credit card, or whatever it is. And the PDF compressor is now able to math-wise read those scanned-in forms, detect those forms and sort them, like this is an application for a credit card, this is an application for an insurance policy, and so on. It can detect and work with multi-page forms, and then it can generate, by the data extraction, a data set that is just reading the content you are interested in and not doing a full-text search or full-text OCR, but reading the specific data that you want to extract from a specific form. It does so by introducing another application, which is called the Form Designer. It's part of the form recognition and data extraction option of the PDF compressor. The form designer is used to set up those forms and say what you want to read, how to identify those forms, and what rules you want to apply to specific fields in the form. For example, a rule that makes sure that an email address is valid or something like that. The PDF compressor itself, you see in the middle, has the option then it does the mass conversion. So the scanned-in documents containing those forms, the PDF compressor, again in an unattended mode, somewhere in the server room, does the real conversion. And then on the right side you see that there is another green new application introduced that's called the Form Validator. And you see those 2 arrows there. One is going down directly to a legacy system that might be an ERP software, that might be an archive or whatever. So in any case where your extracted data meets all the rules that you specified in your form design, and where the extracted data also has a probability for correct identified characters by the OCR, higher than the level you in minimum expect, data can potentially go directly to the legacy system. But in all other cases where something is suspicious in there, or where the probability of a recognized character is not high enough as you specified it, or where a rule is broken, these extracted data can automatically be pushed forward to form validator clients. And you see server operators sitting there in this small graphic, correcting the data that is extracted to 100% accuracy before it then goes to a legacy system. This is simply a question of how you set up your workflow. And I think Armin will give us now an introduction to all the 3 user interfaces that you can use with the form recognition and data extraction. But first of all, we take a look at the barcode, I guess. Armin?
Right. So I have also a little example prepared for barcode recognition. It's in the aptly named folder. And what you see here are basically scanned pages from a report. And just for the example's sake, we have also inserted scanned pages with barcodes. These are the kinds of pages that you might slip into a batch as separators to signify the beginning of one document and the end of another document. And what I want to do right now is, instead of merging these 12 pages into one single PDF document, I want to split whenever a barcode is detected. So once again, I drag this folder here. I'll rename it just for clarity's sake. And I will use the Merge Pages feature once again, which without any further options would give me a 16-page file because it would also include the barcodes. But I go to the Mode tab now and say Detect Barcodes. I also have some options for barcodes here. So for example, I can detect them only in a certain range, and I can detect different types of barcodes, which I will not do for now. But instead, I will exclude the pages which contain the barcodes. So that should throw away these 3 pages, giving me 12 pages of content. And to split, actually, I'll go to this tab over here, and I have some options. And instead of splitting, for example, into chunks of 10 pages, which you could also do, I'll split whenever a new barcode is detected. This brings up a hint that output files are renamed now because the usual naming scheme does not comply with this. But that's okay for now. And even further than that, I will now use the barcode value, the value of the barcode detected, because these 3 barcodes actually do have individual values. I will use that to rename the files. This is also a use that you can make of barcodes. So they're not only simply stand-ins, but you can extract the values and use them in the processing. Okay, that's what it takes. You see there are different values given here, and I won't go into further detail. If you hit the Help button here, you can get a detailed explanation, but that's too complicated for now. And I will start this, and it says working. Once again, since I'm merging into single documents, I'm only using one of my 2 processor cores, but for a change it's using core number 2. And we should soon see the documents appear here. Remember, what I'm trying to produce is 3 PDF documents, each containing 4 pages. There it's done. You see it. I have 3 documents. One is named page 1 to 4 and also contains the barcode value of the first barcode page. The next one is named page 5 to 8, contains the next barcode value. And the third one named page 9 to 12. And you see they don't contain the barcode pages, but they also contain the other 4 pages. And in contrast to what we've seen before, these do not contain any character recognition options, so I cannot go in here and try to cut and paste any text. Okay, so that's just a brief example of what you can do with barcode recognition. And let's.
But I mean, barcode recognition does not mean that you cannot do OCR. You just haven't switched it on, right?
No, I just haven't switched it on. You see, these are 2 independent options. I could switch on OCR as well. I've just chosen not to do this because that would have caused a little further delay, and we've seen the effects before. So no, they are absolutely independent of each other. You can use them together, or you can use the one or the other. Okay. For a different topic now, that is form recognition and data extraction. This is a little more complicated. It works in the context of the PDF compressor, but you need to supply it with more information. Especially, you have to supply it with information on the kinds or the types of forms that you would like to recognize and the areas where you would want to extract data from these forms. You see, if you have, this is already the form designer application, which is used in this context. It is used to specify the forms that you would want to process, and it's also used to specify the areas where you would want to extract your data. Because if you submit such a form, where I have a filled example here, this is of course not real data, but mock-up that we have created here. If you have such a thing and run it through the OCR, you get all this, I would say, dummy text, all the captions, you would get them in the OCR results. And basically, the interesting part of the information, which is what somebody has filled into your form, would be buried in heaps of recurring data, which is everything that is in the blank form already. You might say, okay, you could simply just differentiate and try to drop out, but we have chosen a different approach, and this approach is you can mark individual areas on such a page. And the first task is to mark areas that help you identify a certain kind of form, because we want to allow you to present or to submit batches of forms to the PDF compressor that might actually be different types of printed forms. And the PDF compressor will classify these forms in the first step, and it will then extract data from certain areas, such as this area here, where the first name should be entered. So as an example, I would try to identify these forms by, for example, this text. I would say this is an identifier field, and I would constrain the text to this value. So security administration, and I would allow for a slight error, let's say 16%, okay. And as another measure, I would choose this field where the form type is entered, because maybe different forms bear this label, Social Security Administration. That might not be enough to properly recognize a form. And once again, I would say, in this case, maybe I wouldn't say fixed text, but I would choose a pattern, because it may grab some of the adjacent characters as well. And I would say form SSA 54 and add a star, which basically has the same meaning as in a Windows wildcard. Okay, so this is all still pretty abstract. I have entered my idea of what might suffice to recognize this form, but of course I do not know whether in my real-world examples this will actually work. So what we also have here in this form designer is test runs. And I can now start this and check these on my examples, and I will get a report here. Well, let's throw this away for now. And it says, okay, here in the master everything has been detected correctly, but in this slightly skewed example, the first field has not been recognized properly, probably because it is down here too far. So I will try this again after moving it a bit, and now my sample is correctly recognized, my master is correctly recognized. This is a tiny glimpse of what you can do in this application, and this is a short example of how you can use this application to recognize certain types of forms. You would basically, once you have made sure you can recognize your forms properly, you would then go and specify all the fields where your data should be extracted. And this is the data which would actually end up in an extraction result. I will just shortly demonstrate this, briefly demonstrate this by opening a project where this has actually been built in. So this is what such a form design might look like, and this is actually the form design that I will use now in my example run with the PDF compressor. So in the PDF compressor, you once again create a job. I would take this one here, and you see there are 4 single-page tips in here, and they're actually not all representatives of the form that you have just seen, but there is also these 2 in here, which also have company and names and email address information and stuff like that, but they should, of course, not be confused with these actual Social Security forms. So while these two should be processed properly, the other 2 should probably be sorted out. Okay? So how do I get the PDF compressor to recognize the input files here, or how do I make the connection with the form design? Well, I go back to the properties here, and this time I select form recognition. Once again, I get the hint that output file renaming has been turned on, which is quite okay for now. And I can then, under form recognition options, I can then pick this the form design file, which we have just seen in the form designer, which is this one here. You see, once again, it's form SSA 54 version 1.0. I'll take that one, and that's about all it takes at this point. I will start this job, and this time you see, since there are different independent documents to process, it will now take all 2 of my 2 processor cores. This would, of course, be multiplied if you had a quad-core or 8-core machine. Okay, this time it was pretty fast, and you see I have 2 subfolders here in my original folder, and one is named for inspection. It again contains 2 subfolders, namely one named form SSA 54 and one named unclassified. Let's have a look at this one. And it contains the 2 conference registration slips, which we have just thrown into the mix. So these have been properly detected, and they have been separated from the rest. But what about this one? We have one PDF output file here, and we also have this past subfolder, also with a subfolder named after the form, because remember, you should be able to mix different form input files in one processing job. So we have one here and one here, and this means something has probably not been detected sufficiently with this file, and that's where the third application of this workflow, the form validator, comes in. I can simply open this file here, and this application serves to detect what may have gone wrong, and it also gives you the opportunity to manually correct it. So the whole intention here is that while most of your forms should be processed properly, some may not, and you can easily detect which ones, and you can then submit them to manual correction. So what may have gone wrong here? You see, this text has properly been identified, but since the one is slightly distorted here, it says the result was suspicious. So the OCR recognition quality was simply insufficient. But I see the value is correct, so I can simply just hit return here, which will automatically take me to the next field, and I have now corrected this first field with the zip code. And what's wrong here? Well, this, as specified in the design, should be separated with dashes. And what we see here is separated with slashes. So this time it's not a problem of the OCR not recognizing the characters, but simply of the actual content being malformed. But once again, I can correct this to conform to the original design, or to the constraints in this design, and I have now manually corrected this result, which is also quite visible because all of these check marks here are green now. I can simply save it, and just to show you that you can also process correctly recognized results in the same fashion, I can open this one from the past folder. You should see no red entries here, since it was submitted under passed. That's exactly what you get. Everything is black here, and so you know you're fine. So just to sum up, this is a short glimpse of what the form recognition functionality gives you. You have to specify some characteristics of your form. You have to specify the areas where you would want to extract data, and you can then just simply run the PDF compressor with its OCR over this, and afterwards you even have another application that lets you correct whatever problems have been detected. Okay, Carsten, do you want to take over from this again?
Yes, of course. Thank you, Armin, for giving us this deeper look inside the PDF compressor advanced functionalities. Now, we have some minutes left, and I want to give you some more hints on what the PDF compressor can do, helping you automate your document conversion. You saw a lot of graphic user interfaces again. That's why I want to give you once more the hint. The PDF compressor itself is really designed for mass-wise and automatically convert those things, read forms, extract barcodes, and convert and compress documents towards PDF and PDFA in an unattended mode, so it's really suitable for mass-wise conversion. One more thing is in the PDF compressor that might be interesting for some of you out there. In some countries, digital signatures, electronic signatures, are definitely a topic for requirements from your industries and so on. The PDF compressor has an option to also set up a job that can apply digital signatures to PDF and PDFA. It can use all three modes of attached, detached, and embedded digital signatures. Those of you who are in digital signatures know what I'm talking about. So in other words, it has all modes. It is certified by German and by international authorities, so that the digital signatures you can create with this system are definitely compliant to your country's local laws that you have there. If you want to learn more about digital signatures, it would just be easy to contact us after the meeting, and we can give you more deep information on digital signatures. The one more information I want to give you now is that the digital signatures we can apply here are also high-level security digital signatures. You see on top of the image there, you see this kind of card reader there. So you can really use signature cards, card reader, and generate highly qualified digital signatures also to your scanned documents. And you see the output then is a digitally signed PDF or PDFA file. Okay, one more information I want to give you for today is something about the license models that we have. If you like the software and the systems that you have seen so far, you might want to ask the question on how can I get that? How can I use that? What is the kind of way you offer that? And our standard license model is the so-called LuraDocument PDF Compressor Server. The software that we saw is always technically identically, and you see the three printed in bold names there: Server, Advanced, and Basic. And these are three different license models to get the technically identical software LuraDocument PDF Compressor. The Server model is our standard license model, allows you to unlimited processing of PDF, OCR, and so on. It's just compressing and converting as much as your computer CPU cores can handle in whatever time. It's a continuous license that you buy once and use for as long as you like. It is based on CPU, so if you need more than, for example, 6 million pages per month, which is actually something that you can achieve with a single CPU core, you might want to license another CPU core, and then, as we saw in the example, have a 2 CPU core license, but you can also have a 4 or 8 CPU core license for the PDF compressor server, which makes it very, very fast and powerful tool then. A license model below that is a license model that is limited to what I would call pages in time. To be exact, it allows you to convert 5,000 pages a month, every month, and every other month again. So it's something for a small project that's going on, or it's something for after, for example, a scan service outsourcing company converts your old paper files. You might get some pages in addition every month to get the files actual or something, then the PDF Compressor Advanced license model of the PDF Compressor might be the right one for you. And interesting also is the PDF Compressor Basic. It is at the low end of this list, but it is definitely not a low license. It limits the compression conversion in OCR to absolute pages, so it comes with a license for 20,000 pages, but it can be reloaded with any number from 100,000 pages up to 100 million pages cartridges. What makes it interesting is that this license is really, really fast because it makes use automatically of all the CPU cores that you have in your computer. So it's very suitable for handling specific projects of, for example, scanning in old paper files or whatever. And it's also suitable for handling your backlog when your files pile up one day and you want to cope with a certain backlog there. So this license is more project-based, while the server license on top of that is more based for your ongoing daily conversion needs. One more slide. Armin, can you flip for me? Yeah, thank you. This is our last slide. I want to thank you for your attention for today's webinar. I really want to encourage you to fill out the questionnaire that automatically appears on your screen once you log off from the webinar now. It also gives you the opportunity to fill in any kind of topics or questions that you have towards us where you want to hear another webinar on. And of course, please give us some feedback on the quality of our webinar today. Thanks a lot for your attention once more, and talk to you soon.